Hey everyone, this is Josh Hayward and welcome to episode 22 of 31 Days of Pumpkin. We got a very special episode for you tonight featuring Lakefront Brewery out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I have to say thanks so much to the craft beer community tonight. Thanks to some generous friends on Instagram and in the community. I now have more pumpkin beers than I know what to do with. And it's not that many, but I have now more than it would take for me to go through one a day for the 31 Days of Pumpkin series. So I've got a few extra, and I'm going to be integrating a couple in each night for the next 10. I think we've got 10 days left. So figured I'd do two tonight, being that both of these are from Lakefront. Also, special shout out and thank you to my buddy Brent from Instagram for sending me these amazing Lakefront Brewery brews. He had no idea that Lakefront is actually one of my favorite breweries in the Midwest. So I really appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much. Few things about Lakefront. I actually had the opportunity to visit that brewery a little over a year ago now. I was traveling through the area on business, looking for a local brewery, stopped in at Lakefront and was just blown away by what they've got going on there. Amazing beer. Got to tour the facility and kind of see what all was going on there. Pretty neat brewery, actually right there on the front of the water's edge of the lake there in Milwaukee. So really great brewery, doing great things in the craft community. And another thing too, if you know anything about Milwaukee, it's such a big beer city, and big beer has a huge I don't want to say control, but a huge footprint in that city. But yet it's so great to see craft doing such an amazing job in that city. So cheers to Lakefront on that. We've got two very special beers for you here tonight. Both of them pumpkin beers, both of them very different beers. And I'm really excited for these because these are two very different kinds of beers from the same brewery. One's a lager and one's an ale. The first one we're going to be taking a look at is the pumpkin lager. This is a lager brew with real pumpkin and spices, again from Lakefront in Milwaukee. This beer is going to be different from anything we've seen in 31 Days of Pumpkin so far. Every beer we've had through the last 21 days has been an ale. This is a lager, and with that comes a variety of different kinds of different characteristics. Lager beer, actually it boils down, no pun intended, to the yeast strain that's used. Lagers use a bottom fermenting yeast. So when the brewer is boiling the wort, he puts the hot wort into a vessel, cools it down, pitches his yeast. That yeast will sit on the bottom of that vessel and consume the sugar and produce alcohol. Whereas an ale, that yeast sits on the top of the liquid and consumes the sugar to produce alcohol. Another unique difference between the lagers and ales, lager yeast ferments at a significantly colder temperature than an ale yeast. Ale yeast is kind of their sweet spot is 68 to 72 degrees, and then lager yeast is significantly cooler, and that range is pretty wide depending on the yeast strain. For some, it's a few degrees cooler than 68. For others, I've seen it down in the 50s, 40s, just depends on the strain you have. So really looking forward to this beer tonight. This is going to be very different from anything we've had, and I know I've already said that once, but this is our first pumpkin lager, so I'm pretty pumped about it. When I visited Lakefront, I can't remember which one of these that I had. I did have one of their pumpkin somethings. I just can't remember what it was. Pretty solid brew from what I remember, but it's been a little while. But yeah, let's get it started. All right, nice pretty beer there. All right, so we have a hazy golden color there. Pretty beer. I love seeing the haze in these pumpkin beers because it means they use real pumpkin, which is amazing. I love it. That the fruit or the pulp of the pumpkin gives that cloudiness, that haziness. It has to do with the enzymes and the different types of things that are in that particular fruit. But yeah, kind of a translucent beer, a little bit of light coming through there, which is just a pretty beer. Little bit of I'll give a little swirl here. Kind of starts as a slightly off-white head, but then settles into a wider type head there. Looks like just a standard pumpkin brew. A lot of times, just by sight, sometimes you can tell the difference between an ale and a lager. Lagers tend to be more crisper, more clearer. You really can't do that with this one because of the haze from the pumpkin. So if you were to just pick it up, you wouldn't know, without tasting it or smelling it or without doing anything, whether it was an ale or a lager. So kind of hiding out behind the pumpkin here. So let's see what we've got on the nose. Oh, that's wonderful. There's a nice maltiness in here, kind of some biscuit and caramel. Some nice pumpkin spice in there, maybe a little bit of brown sugar, maybe a little bit of cinnamon. Not overly spiced, a nice complement in here. I feel like yeah, that's about all I'm getting. I don't want to say something with my mind playing tricks on me, but that's pretty much all I'm getting on the nose there. Smells great, just nice. A good smelling fall brew. Nothing too over the top. Nothing taking causing you to step back due to the aroma. It's just nice. Just a nice solid aroma on that lager. So let's see what we've got. Cheers. Great beer. Very, very good beer here. I feel like in this lager, you can actually taste the pumpkin a little bit easier than you can in some of the ales. Maybe that's just because they use more pumpkin. Could be the fact that it's a lager. Not sure. We're definitely tasting the pumpkin in here. This is great. Really, really solid beer here. Kind of some toasted bread and biscuit as far as the malt goes, the grain bill. Using some of those pale type malts. Yeah, more pale malt. I'm not getting much caramel or anything in there. Kind of pale malt, biscuity, pie crust, toasted bread, that kind of thing. Nice pumpkin flavor in there, both from the pumpkin and then the complementing spices. Using some of the let's see, some nutmeg, giving a little bit of bite, a little sharper type bite. Maybe some ginger in there. My palate's actually kind of dry post sip from some of the ginger, and then also from some of the yeast, no doubt. Some of the hops, no doubt, and maybe a little bit of cinnamon in there too. But you can definitely taste the pumpkin in this beer. It's almost like the lager kind of sets it up as the centerpiece, as the focal point of the beer. Very, very good. Love this beer. Really enjoy it. I think for two reasons. One, because I feel like the flavors are just really balanced. Very well balanced. It's light. It's easy drinking. I feel like I could enjoy several of these at a Halloween party or a Thanksgiving get-together gathering. I feel it'd be a great beer to sip at a tailgate on a fall day. For those of you who are involved in tailgating for college football, go Tigers. But yeah, very, very good beer. Really like this one. Again, light, easy drinking. Nothing too over the top as far as the spices go. Just really, really solid. I'm going to enjoy that in a little bit. Good beer. Cheers to Lakefront on that one. Next, we have the Lakefront Brewery Barrel Aged Pumpkin Imperial Ale brewed with pumpkin and spices with vanilla added and aged in brandy barrels. So we've not had a brandy barrel aged beer yet. We've had rum, we've had bourbon, we have not had brandy. So this is going to be very interesting. Brandy, cognac, coming from a grape, a little bit different as far as the spirits go. 13.4% ABV. So yeah, this is I'm looking forward to this one. I have not had this one. I would have remembered it being rather heavy if I would have had this at the brewery. So this beer is an ale, top fermenting, 68 to 72 degrees fermenting. Going to be like, it's the same type of beer as what we've seen throughout 31 Days of Pumpkin. All the rest of them have been ales. So let's see what we've got. All right. Oh, wow. I'm going to do a little comparison here. This is fun, having multiple beers. Just for your sake, a little comparison there. You've got the one on your right, my left, is the lager. and the one on my right, your left, is the ale, the barrel aged ale. Very beautiful color on each, kind of a golden, hazy golden here. I would say this is more of an amber copperish, little more gold towards the bottom of the glass there. But two very beautiful brews. From looking at it, you can already tell this one's going to be a little bit more heavier than the lager for sure. And yeah, you see the little golden down there, beautiful copper color, amber in there. Just a very pretty beer. Again, hazy. Points for that for sure, using the real pumpkin in the brew. The haze doesn't always give that away, but the fact that we're doing pumpkin ales, it's kind of a good tip. But yeah, beautiful color there. A little bit of a swirl. This is about the same, little more on going towards the off-white color of a head there. This was pretty much straight white. This is a little more off-white, kind of creamier looking. But yeah, all right. Oh wow, I kind of cheated. I went in for it first. Let's see what we've got on the nose. Oh wow. The big thing I'm getting in here, I'm getting some caramel notes from the malt, no doubt. Some of those spices that they've used, maybe some other sweetness, maybe from that vanilla that they say they used on the bottle, and then definitely getting some cognac in there from that barrel aging. This one's 13.4. The cognac gives a different type of flavor profile, a different type of complementing element to the pumpkin than the bourbon and the rum. My tip for you need to try, if you haven't had cognac or brandy, you need to try it because it's a different kind of liquor, I should say, different kind of beverage drink. Very different from a bourbon, very different from a rum. It's kind of set aside, kind of in its own league. But very appreciative of the drink there, and I feel like the complementing elements go really well with this pumpkin ale. All right, it's beautiful smelling beer. I mean, really great smelling beer. Let's see what we got. Cheers. Wow. As far as, just right off the top of my head, as far as barrel aging goes, this is a welcome change to the bourbon and the rum that we've seen multiple times. Cheers to them, kind of thinking out of the box, going with brandy barrels. You can definitely taste the brandy in this beer, and I feel like it goes really well with the pumpkin ale. I'm getting some malty notes of toasted bread and caramel. The brandy kind of, as soon as I take that first sip, I'm getting a little bit of maltiness in there, but then the brandy's there. It's like, hey, I'm here, kind of overshadows the rest. But kind of mid sip, getting some of the pumpkin, and then as I swallow post sip, getting some of the spices in there. Some of the spices that they used, the pumpkin pie spice. Again, some of that nutmeg, maybe some cinnamon, maybe even some ginger in there. But very good brew. Out of all of the barrel aged ones that we've had, I think I like this one the most, just because it's so unique and so different. It's a nice complementing flavor without just washing out the beer, and it's so rich. Look at that, just beautiful looking. Kind of reminds me of brandy a little bit in a way, but very good beer here. I feel like they went the route of the barrel aged and use it to really complement the pumpkin ale, which I can really appreciate. I bet you. I imagine this beer would taste better the warmer that it got. If you know anything about brandy or cognac, you hold. Usually when you pour that, you warm it by swirling it in the glass, kind of warming it around your hand. It takes on the flavors get more rich and developed the warmer that it gets. I imagine that would be the same case here. Some of those flavors would continue to come out the warmer that it got. I may do that. I may let it sit and warm it. But yeah, great tasting beer here. Two very different beers here. Two very different tastes. Completely different in how they're brewed. Completely different in how they taste. Slightly different grain bills. Both have pumpkin, but both kind of take a different route, which I can really appreciate. I really enjoyed both of these brews. Cheers to Lakefront Brewery on these. Cheers to my buddy Brent for sending them over to me, and cheers to you guys for following along. You guys take care.